So now that we've installed the course pack, I'm going to start making some changes to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is at the macro level in the left-hand navigation, I'm just going to move the button called Course Materials. I'm going to move that up to the top. Now this is where we've placed all of the material, all of the content for the course pack. And you can rename it by clicking on that little icon, the circle with the caret. And I'm just going to rename this link. Now you can rename it anything that you'd like. Remember, all of these materials are built directly within your Blackboard course. So I can rename it Comp 1301. By default, it will be course materials. So when you load in the course pack, feel free to move that button anywhere you'd like and then rename that button. Now once we get into the course pack itself, you'll see that you have a lot of links, you have some documents, and those documents have links. We have model student papers, document guidelines. I can make changes to any of these documents. But first what I want to do is I want to start placing content in content folders. So for example, if I'm organizing my course by weeks, I can create a week 1 folder, a week 2 folder as I'm doing now, and then I can place content in the course pack inside of those folders, so I can in that way control what students see and how they see it. So this folder that I've just created, I'm going to call this week 1. I'm going to change some of the default settings. So I do want viewers to be able to see that folder, but I also want to track the number of views. I want to see how often students are actually clicking on that folder. And then I want to control when they see it. So in Blackboard, you can move our content into folders and then control when it's available to students. And this is quite useful if you want to restrict access, or if you just don't want to intimidate students by everything they're going to have to do. You can control when they actually see it by creating folders, changing the display period, and then placing content, as I'm about to do now, from the course pack inside of that folder. Now when Blackboard creates anything, it drops it to the bottom. So if you don't know where your folder went, always go to the bottom of the screen, scroll down, and then I'm just going to drag and drop that folder right at the top. And you notice that it's grayed out, which means that it's not available for students until that deadline, that time period comes when it's then available. Now what I want to do is I want to take some of the course pack content and move it into week 1. So I want students, for example, to look at the model student papers in that first week to get a sense for what's going to be expected of them. So by clicking that little icon, again, the little circle of power, that's going to allow me, if I click on that, to move the model student papers from the course pack into week 1. So I'm going to click move, and this is then going to present me with some options. Where do you want to move it, for example? So when that screen loads, I'm then simply under the destination heading, I'm going to click on browse, and that will load up the screen that we just saw a moment ago, the navigation, and I'm going to place it in week 1 and then hit submit. Now what that's going to do, it's going to move all those model student paper links into the week 1 folder. So now I want to create a week 2 folder. So there's a little bit of setup that you might want to do once you install the course pack. So I'm going to create another content folder. I'm going to call this week 2, and I also want to track the settings as well as control when students can actually see the content that I'm going to place there. So this is week 2. I'm going to change the date. I decided not to change the display until, and then I'll hit submit. And then once again, just like before, those documentation guidelines, I want those to go into week 2. So I'm going to select on the icon, I'll select move. And then once I do that, I can then move the documentation guidelines directly into that folder. So I'll click on browse under destination once more. And then I'm going to scroll down. Remember, we haven't moved it yet. It's going to be at the bottom. And I'll call that week 2, or put it in the week 2 folder, hit submit. And before I do anything, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to grab that week 2 folder and move it up. So students won't be able to access the content in this folder, which has the documentation guidelines, until the second week of school, until that date, May 14th, 2014. Now, I mentioned before that all the content in the course pack is completely editable. Now let me show you how that is going to work. Let's say, for example, you want to add some of your own examples of model student papers, or you want to remove some of the model student papers that we've provided, here's how you would do it. I'm going to select on week 1 because that's where we place that document. And then by clicking on the icon at the top, I'm going to edit the page. So we're not going to move anything. We're actually going to edit this page that's built natively within Blackboard. Now these all link out to PDF, high quality PDF files of student papers, and you can create your own links as well as remove any of these links that you don't feel are appropriate for your class. So by clicking on the little icon, I'm now going to change it. I'm now going to select edit, and this is going to allow me to edit the model student paper links. So a control panel will open up, and just as you would in a word processing document, I'm going to pull this down just a little bit here, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to make some changes. Making changes simply means clicking in the box, sort of your workstation, and I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to add an example paper. It could be anything at all, and I'm going to place it in between 2 of the documents here. So to do that, I just hit return, and then this is where I'll put the paper that I want to link to. So my student paper example. Now I'm going to, using Blackboard's own tools, I'm going to highlight my student paper example, and then I'm going to click on the link icon. Now there are a number of different ways that you could handle this. Maybe this model student paper, you found it online, you found it on the web, and you want to link to it. So this is in the link path under General, and that's where you would paste the link that you want students to follow. If you have an example of a student paper from a previous semester and you haven't uploaded it to the web somewhere, say Google Documents, you can upload it to your Blackboard content collection, and then by clicking on Browse Content Collection, the button, you can navigate to it. So 2 choices there, linking outside to a web page or linking to the document that you've uploaded to your own content collection. Once you've decided what you want to link to and where you want it to link, you can click Insert, and once you've done that, it's going to place, as you can see here, a hyperlink from my student paper example. So in this way, we've actually edited the content that came in your course pack just a moment ago. If you don't teach the memoir or the personal narrative, you want to make some additional changes, it's simply a matter of highlighting and deleting. So very, very simple to edit the content that we've created here. And just so you can see an example, in just a moment I'm going to show you an example of some of those model student papers that Norton has provided. Just like at the folder level, if you want to track the number of times that students are looking at the model student papers, that's something that you can do by tracking the number of views. So very powerful learning analytics that is built into Blackboard that you have access to, and you can pair it with our content. And then if I want to control at the page level, in this case, if I want to control exactly when students see this particular document, I can do that using those deployment settings, all found by clicking on the edit option from the little caret at the top next to model student papers. Now this is an example of the model student papers for an abstract that we've provided. And just notice that these are high-res images. Students can print these out. They're PDFs. They can take it with them, and they're very well stylized. So a lot here for students.